stock risers, stock fallers. Let's start it out a little bit more optimistic. Who has, like, early in this season increased their stock with you?
So this guy, I think I had him like outside of my top 80, which is like such a crazy, weird thing to say that we even had a top 80 this early in the
Yeah.
game. And I think people will mock us for it. But I mean, hey, for me, it's like when they tell me to do an assignment, I'm Asian. I do the assignment. Okay. I do my homework. Right. So anyway, I had a guy, he's playing for BYU, playing alongside AJ DeBonta, a guy who was their leading scorer last year too, but has come in. He's playing with his hair on fire. A guy who I think has a very clear outlook in terms of what his role looks like in the NBA. That guy's Richie Saunders. Is my choice. I did a tweet this week about him, and if you guys out there, if you guys follow me at all, like if I do a video comp tweet about a guy, it just means I like them. That's all that is. I'm not trying to plant my flag and be like, I'm earliest on him or anything like that. I just like putting up these little videos that I make about guys that I like. And I think with Richie, like for him, his game's very simple to me. But the thing that I've liked so far is that, like, obviously the movement shooting looks great. I think the shooting motion looks really pretty and good and reminds me of like 90s shooters, like the elevation that he gets.
Dude, I love his elevation.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up on guys like Allen Houston or Ray Allen and these types of guys. So that type of shooting form definitely, I think, plays to our audience. Corey, we're the 37U audience. Or no, sorry, 40U. Okay. But anyway, the things that I like about him, really quickly, Corey. I mean, he just had a huge game yesterday for BYU, putting up 26 points, right? And I get the concerns with him. He's not like an elite athlete or anything like that. But the things that I've liked so far is obviously the shooting has been great. His movement shooting is fantastic. The strong base that he has, the balance that he has, the confidence that he has, the way that he runs off these screens. But also I like his ability to attack closeouts. Like, I don't think he's some masterful driver of the ball, but they're going to close out hard on him. And when they do, he does a good job of being strong and physical, getting into the lane and trying to finish or draw a foul. And for me, it's like that alone is a lot for a guy who, with his shooting ability, and if we're making that like translation type of thing to the NBA, there are a lot of guys in the NBA right now that are finding a lot of success doing some of the things that he's doing for BYU. A couple of examples. Look at Duncan Robinson. The way that he's playing for the Detroit Pistons, the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. He's a huge part of their success right now with what he's able to do with his floor stretching and his ability to do a little bit with the ball in his hands as well. Simone Fontecchio, what he's doing for the Miami Heat, the way that he's been playing, the way that he's fit into that culture, but what he offers as a shooter for my hometown, beloved New York Knicks. Landry Shamet has been a revelation this year. He might be the most valuable player so far. I know it's a stretch, just kidding, but he's swung and won some games for the Knicks. Like that game in Dallas, if he doesn't hit those 2 huge threes at the end, that could have been an easy loss for the Knicks. And the point that I'm trying to make with Richie is that I think his role is very clear and defined, but I think he's got good size, and I like the way that he's playing with strength when he's attacking the rim, and that's important to me.
Yeah, I love that call out. And I remember last year, like just doing the prep that we do in the offseason, I was like, Richie's got really good advanced numbers that are going to pop up, in a lot of the online queries. And, with Yegor there last season as like a playmaker, it was like, oh, well, he's the perfect guy to play off of, a creator like that. And so, I think Cade Cunningham is a much more, advanced creator than Yegor is because of his scoring gravity. But like, you see how much Duncan Robinson can thrive off of a guy like that who can make all these passes and leverage his scoring. And you're going to find that in the NBA. Now he's in a much different situation where, BYU's kind of star player is not necessarily like the super creator, but Robert Wright is. So he still has a guy who's finding him in all these spots. And AJ does have so much gravity as a scorer that like he's still going to find different ways to take advantage of that, be it as a cutter. I like his cutting off the ball. And then he's strong and physical, right? Like he's a high field guy, high motor. He can knock down shots. He's sneaky athlete. Can I use that for him? Is that allowed? Sneaky athlete. I think, yeah, he's a really interesting guy, and definitely somebody who I think has a real shot to get drafted. Age and, maybe the lack of creativity as a self-creator is probably going to prevent him from being a first-round guy, but I could certainly see a team liking him as a second-round guy.
Yeah. Once again, Corey, everything that you said, I agree with. And I think even with AJ, right? Like you mentioned, AJ maybe not the strongest passer, but it's like this thing with his gravity, and you put, Richie strong side corner. Like if they help off that corner, AJ is going to find him and he's going to have a wide open look. And so the thing with Richie, once again, I like the production, even in that game yesterday, the types of shots he was taking, and then the wide open ones look amazing, but also he's hitting tough ones, running, sprinting into some of these looks. And so I'm just like, okay, you get him to the NBA level, and he's got years of experience in college, and he has a very defined role, and physically he's ready to take on, I think, the strength and intensity of the NBA. He could be like a day one type of contributor is how I'm viewing him.
Yeah. And, I think we've seen, with guys who are really good shooters. And I think for him, it's going to be like, is he a really good shooter or a great shooter? Right? Because, his free throw percentage has never been super elite, but the 3-point shooting is really, really strong. So, we'll see where he falls within that. But even if he doesn't hit right away, those guys find a way to find the right scenario, and they keep getting shots because he's got good size and he's a good shooter. So he's going to find his shot. I mean, AJ Green, these guys, maybe if they don't take off right away, they find a scenario and it works. I like that call out. My stock riser, and he's a guy who I think has risen on a lot of people's boards, is Kingston Flemings at Houston.
Okay.
I mean, that kid has been amazing. Right now, his numbers are video game numbers. I think he's shooting 71%, 50%, 87.5% shooting splits. It's something ridiculous. It's totally crazy. And he's certainly not going to keep that up. But if you look at the way that he's playing and how he's going about his offense, it's definitely shots that he gets to that are going to be super translatable. And, we were talking about Richie and NBA guys. He kind of reminds me offensively of Cason Wallace, if Cason Wallace had maybe a little bit quicker of a first step. Because Kingston Flemings, that first step is pretty devastating.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a little bit of bounce too, that's a little underrated. And I love how he gets to the mid range, and the way he's able to get to the elbow and rise up and score really allows him to play out of his hesitations. I think his hesitations have been unbelievable to watch, because some guys will just hit one hesi and go, and he's hitting multiple hesis and stringing them together and really toying with the defender's kind of cadence and how they have to guard him, especially because he can pull up. Now, the 3-point shooting, I think, is something to monitor. I don't think he's going to shoot 50% overall, and his volume's not crazy. I think he's at 5 threes per 100 possessions right now, which is, for a point guard, is probably below average. It's not devastating by any means, but it's, he definitely prefers to live in the in-between at the moment. And he is knocking down his threes, but his passing, his playmaking, how easily he can create paint touches, his poise already, and his pace, he's been a ton of fun. And, I think defensively, if you're going to be on the floor for the Cougars, you got to be able to defend, and I know Coach Sampson has already kind of tried to use motivational light of fire techniques where Chris Senek and Kingston Flemings had really good offensive performances in one of the games. And then he was yeah, but they gave it all up on the defensive end. So he's also holding them accountable on both ends. And so, to me, he's a guy who most certainly is going to be, looks like he has the potential to be kind of a lotto caliber player. And it's just going to be about can he keep it up? I know he's not going to sustain the efficiency because it's outlandish right now. And when you get into conference play, the competition level is going to rise on a nightly basis. But I think that he is going to be able to maintain real efficiency. And I think with that, he's going to enter the conversation as one of the kind of top point guard options in the class. And he's playing a winning brand of basketball. I think they're going to have a deep run. I mean, there's a real argument that they're the best team in the country and, might win a national championship. So, with a lot of guards who have questions early on in the season, one of which I'm going to talk about for my stock down, I think that he's going to be a name that we might continue to see rise because, after you get past Michael Brown, it's really kind of a toss-up and a preference as to who the next point guard might be based on who you personally like.
That's a good point, Corey. I actually haven't even thought about that at all. Like, who would be the next point guard for me? My brain is trying to process. But Corey, I really like this call out with Kingston Flemings. I think number one, what you mentioned about the speed, his first step, if he catches the defender flat-footed, he's gone. Like, he's absolutely gone. I really like that. Number two, his finishing, Corey, I feel like I haven't looked up his numbers at all, but the thing that stuck out to me with him is whenever I've watched him is that like he's got like soft touch. Like he does those like really high off the glass finishes, which I like. And I think those are really hard to do.
And he's got like some mid-air flexibility too.
And Corey, I love that you made that point. His mid-air flexibility shows in his mid-range game. If you watch him take mid-range jumpers, it doesn't always look the same. It's because he can like contort his body to either like lean really far back or like go to the side. There's like these different types of shots that he can get up from the mid-range that I think are actually really interesting. And I think, you combine the speed that he has, and also like being a 6'4" point guard is pretty good. Like, that's pretty good size for him too. And so like if he can like get by you and then just like stop on a dime and then take a mid-range jumper like he can, like, and the different ways that he can, I think really interesting. The one question that I had for you, Corey, with him is the shooting. When you mentioned the shooting, I felt like his 3-point jumper and his mid-range jumper look kind of different. Right. And I think there is a little his 3-point jumper almost looks like a slingshot kind of. Meanwhile, his mid-range jumper looks way more smooth in my eyes, but it may just be like he's adjusting to the distance. I'm not sure, but that will be something to monitor, I think.
So I think with the shooting, a lot of guys who are really comfortable in the mid-range who like get like a lot of elevation on their jumpers.
Yeah.
When you have to now take a few steps back, and you're used to shooting it more naturally with that elevation, it becomes a little bit more awkward. Gotcha. There's also kind of like an elbow, like a slight like right elbow flare. But like, I don't know. I want to see how it develops because I think his touch is good. Yeah. And right now they're going in, even if he's not like getting up a million of them. Sure. But he's definitely been the guy that I think, outside of maybe for some people like Caleb Wilson, like we were just high on him in the preseason. So it's not like as shocking what he's doing necessarily.
Right.
But out of all like the guys who are kind of coming out of nowhere, to me, he's been the guy who it's like, okay, he went from like maybe people didn't know if he was a one and done to like he snatched Uzan's chain and like is the guy that people are paying attention to in that backcourt now.
Yep. He had a really good game against Auburn too. Against Tahaad and that team, and just like,
well, Albert, that is a good transition to our stock fallers because it pains me to say.
For the record, I didn't know you were doing this.
Tahaad Pettiford is my stock faller right now.
Damn.
He's shooting like 30% from the field, and I'm not like in panic mode by any stretch because I think there's enough evidence over Tahaad's career that we know that he's a really great shooter. And there are still some things that he's doing on the floor that are encouraging. Like he's got like a over 2.5 steal and block percentage, which is especially the block stuff as a guy who measured at the combine. He's like 6'1" in shoes with a 6'6" wingspan and is, considered a smaller guard. For him to defensively have these numbers early on, I think that's encouraging. He's got a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. So that's really encouraging. The shots just aren't dropping right now. And he's getting them up at a really high clip. I think he's near 14 threes per 100 possessions. But the shots have to go in. And if they don't go in and his efficiency stinks, it's a hard sell. He's going to be a guy who's going to have to return to college again, which for him, like, not that big a deal. He's going to hone his game even more, and he's going to make a bunch of money in NIL. Like it's not like it used to be when you go through this. But it's early in the season. I'm not panicking. He just hasn't been making shots right now, and I think that's going to flip. He's the type of guy who he's going to get hot one night, right? And he might go like 14 for 15, and it's going to like flip his percentages a little bit back to the norm. Yeah. So I think we'll get some, more normal, I guess, regression, or I guess not regression to the mean, but progression to the mean. But I have to mention, as the resident, Tahaad Pettiford believer, I got to call him like I see him. And, he hasn't played as well as I wanted him to.
This is why I will always respect you, look up to you. You are the master at this, Corey, because not a lot of people will jump in front of a camera and be like, hey, I'll take this one on the chin. But to your point, we're still so early in the season. We're 5 games into the season for Tahaad. And so this could easily shift the other way. But I totally understand, Corey. And I think, to be fair, like, and it's interesting because if you look at the advanced stats with him, right, like even his usage rate is pretty much the same as last year, right? His turnover percentage has gone down slightly even. I think the shooting will swing. And we're seeing a lot of this, Corey. There are other guys like this too who early on in the season, they're struggling with their shooting a little bit, and this can easily flip. Just last week, I talked about Xavier Lee, right? And I'm still holding out hope that he's going to be able to flip that and he's going to have a strong season. My guy for stock down is also having some struggles, a lot of struggles with shooting too, right? But these things can easily flip. And so with a guy like Tahaad playing on the team that he's playing,
and his team context is different this year, right? Like new coach who kind of, and look, I don't know how long, like within the team structure, they knew that this was going to happen. I'm sure they potentially found out or maybe knew about it before the general public did. But obviously they lost a lot of veteran guys, either to the NBA or the transfer portal. And, Tahaad went from a role where he was kind of an ancillary piece playing off of veterans to now he is kind of the veteran. He's the guy with a new supporting cast. So there's probably some adjustment there too. But the shots that he's getting, a lot of which are shots that are similar to what he got last year, just haven't dropped yet. So it's something I have to monitor, and I have to, kind of hope and pray for my fandom of Tahaad that they start going in.
Yeah. And the thing about stock up, stock down is it's not stock up, stock down forever. You know? It's just where we are now. So it's a good call. My guy, similarly, Corey, he's a freshman though, but coming into the season, we did a preseason pod about him. We were excited about his game. We thought that with his scoring punch and juice that he would have a very interesting freshman season. It kind of hasn't worked out so far. He has struggled a little bit from the field. The guy that I'm talking about is Shon Abaev.
Yeah.
The shooting has been a little bit rough. He's 38% from the field, 22.6% from the 3-point line, and 60% from the free throw line. Has not been the strongest showing in their last game. Yesterday, he had 12 points on 3-11 from 3, 4 for 16 from the field. So he is definitely struggling a little bit, but I turned on the film. I watched it. There are a couple things that came to my mind, and okay, first thing is I think he's missing a lot of wide open jumpers. And so that's something that I think is going to swing in his direction. Something that we kind of had concerns about, Corey, was the shot selection at times. And yes, even still, he is taking some very tough jumpers, but that's also part of his allure. Part of why you like a player like this is because you like guys who can take tough shots and make tough shots. And right now he's just not making them. I think there is a little bit of an adjustment period for him in terms of strength too. I also felt like at times like that Cincinnati offense, like he's still kind of feeling out where he needs to be and like how he needs to be coming off of certain actions. And there's just an overall growth / learning period that he's going through right now. And so he's currently my stock down, but I'm still holding out great hope for him because I think there's a very strong pedigree as an offensive player and scorer with him that I think can come around. We even highlighted his passing ability that we liked, and I'd like to see more of that. But I just think right now it's this early season feeling things out, kind of working out the kinks. And I think in a couple of months, he might look a little bit different is kind of where what I believe and what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. And again, like if he has to come back and continue to hone that, get stronger, become more experienced, he could be a guy who really explodes next year as like a sophomore because he's 6'8", 6'9", and he can make those shots with good passing feel. So like those guys, there's always going to be enough intrigue there that he's not going to crater his stock, even if he's not a guy who's going to be able to come out this year. But like you said, we liked him in the preseason. Even like dating back, I saw him in person at Under Armour events. When he was in high school. He's a guy who's always been really interesting to monitor. And, I don't think NBA executives are hitting the panic button with him because a lot of people probably didn't even expect him to necessarily be a one and done. So, but like you said, he's got a lot of time to turn it around, and he's another guy who can get hot really quickly. And he has one hot shooting night, and a lot of those numbers kind of even out. And then it just becomes, can you get back to where you're doing it consistently?
Yep. I believe it.
Yeah. We still believe. Britney Spears. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're coming back with penny stocks.